And once again, you are stuck watching Epic Sketch Time. This is the April 30th, 2018 edition. I'm an illustrator in Tacoma, Washington, and we invite illustrators from all over the country to come and join us for an hour of drawing and conversation. With me today are Bill and Patrick. Why don't you guys introduce yourself, and if anyone else shows up, we'll introduce them when they come online.
Hi, I'm Bill Morse. I'm a freelance illustrator in Seattle, Washington, and on the side, I do a web comic called Rhapsodies.
And my name is Pat McCuen. I do a comic called The Devil and Mr. Gandhi. You can read it at devilandgandhi.com.
And for everybody, down below in the information, you'll be able to find links to everyone on this broadcast. So what are you guys going to be working on today?
Well, I was playing around with teaching myself painting on continuing my learning experience on Clip Studio Paint on painting for a series of illustrations I've been playing with called, what the working title is Patience, which is all about a little Glastic girl who lives in Green Lake Park in Seattle, Washington. And so tonight's illustration, of which I have the, and I don't have the share on right now, so probably forgot to put, give me a second here. As I was saying, I have, oops, wrong piece. The piece I'm having is Patience walking with a ghost who I did the research in. Apparently, a part of Green Lake Park is haunted by the ghost of one Larissa Gaines, who got horribly murdered in the 20s. Though mostly all I could find about her was the true crime bits and not the folklore-y bits. Most of the ghost stuff I've found so far seemed to be something the locals were making up for the tourists, to be honest.
The way you said it, they made it up for the tourists, to be honest?
Tourists, comma, to be honest.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I didn't hear that comma. And what are you working on today, Patrick? Is that a new business? Oh, Patrick's off the air for now. Today, I'm going to be drawing our pontiff. I got a client called me up and wanted me to do some concept work of based on an article he was writing of how would you feel about Trump being in your church, be that just sitting in a pew or as a snake wrangler. And I said, oh my God, how often do I get a chance to draw Trump wrangling snakes?
I'd love to see him as a snake wrangler.
So I showed him these two comps. The top one is, mildly creepy, but yeah, the snake wrangler one, that's the one that he approved. So I'm really looking forward to taking this and expanding on it. First thing I'm going to do is increase this to a 1200 dpi image on the off chance it blows up. And I'm going to go ahead. I know Russ is at home today, or rather I saw him earlier today, so I'm going to make sure, I'm going to pause for a moment, and everyone can watch what, if Bill says something, you can watch what Bill's drawing.
Okay.
You know, I haven't seen Ian for a couple weeks. I wonder what happened to Ian. And someone brought a nice cold beverage to the Epic Sketch Time. Was that you, Patrick?
Yes. Yes, I was having some dog issues earlier, which is why I muted my sound and like paused all action. So.
And you're rewarding yourself with hard liquor or a nice light.
No, it's my one guilty pleasure, which is Canada Dry ginger ale.
My wife and I like Canada Dry ginger ale. Matter of fact, we've been picking up different flavors of it. We like both the blackberry version and the cranberry version.
Mm.
The cranberry version came out during Christmas, and we really liked it. So we thought, oh, well. Then we saw Costco had a 3-flavor pack of the cranberry, the regular, and the blackberry. And we've been drinking this other blackberry ice, which has no calories, but comes in little tiny cans. With oh, this sounds very nice. Let's try this. So, Patrick, I want to see if you can guess what this is a picture of that I'm going to be working on today.
Well, it's a snake handler president, I believe.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that you were able to read it, though I am a little discouraged that it took you so long to respond.
No, I thought it might be a trick question because I knew what it was immediately.
Patrick, that was a beautiful save. Yeah, this is a project for one of my clients. The one I do a lot of religion-based projects for. So I'm going to be doing this one as fast as I can. Because I don't like putting in extra time. So what did you gentlemen do over the weekend?
Well, I mostly was having office work. I've been trying to get my comic buffer up to 3 weeks so I can enjoy my June vacation without guilt. So I've been, along with the usual make sure I have my quota thing, I'm also trying to get as many other ones done at all times. And I'm making progress. At the moment, I think I've successfully made it technically 2 weeks, but that it remains a technicality because they're not all in sequential order.
My wife and I on Saturday went to a Master Gardener's plant sale.
Cool. What'd you get?
Oh, some heirloom tomatoes that you won't be able to get at the home stores. One of my favorite cherry tomatoes is Sun Gold, which used to be you could only get at this sale, but which has since become extremely popular throughout the U.S. So I'm waiting for some larger plants of those to become available at the home stores. And she picked up a little bit of sage as well. For those of you out there who are avid gardeners, might I suggest that when you plant your beans and or peas, that you do so doing one row, basically divide it up into 4 sections, and then plant one row in 1 week, another row a week after that, another row a week after that, and another row a week after that. My wife staggers it every 2 weeks, and that way, whether or not the season starts late or fall, it always starts up. And additionally, it will provide you with a longer growing season, because just as your first line of peas or beans are dying off, and the second batch will be coming to fruition. So you're not hit with a huge abundance of peas and beans all at once that you can't handle. You get them over a long period of, say, 1 or 2 months.
That is some sage advice, Mark.
Oh, God.
Oh, ooh.
It caught me a whole 30 seconds to catch that one, but oh, my Lord.
I also had a chance to go out and see the movie of the weekend,
Infinity Wars?
Infinity Wars.
Yay. How was it?
Was it worth the hype?
I give it a solid 7.
Nice. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say that the trailers still didn't quite hook me, but the Russos are a name I trust.
Have I mentioned on this broadcast before what I think is a major failing with the Marvel movies?
I'm sure you have, but I'm not remembering it at the moment.
The soundtracks?
Yeah, there was a fairly, actually, do you watch your screen as a canvas?
Do I watch my screen as a canvas? I don't.
The video, just a second. This is something you'll approve of. Then let me find it.
Is it the actual name of something?
Yeah. Every frame is a palette. Oh, here we go. Based on what you just said, you will like this one.
Oh, Bill, you can't rebroadcast it here. We'll be taken down.
Oh, should I delete it or?
You can say what it is. You can refer to the channel, but you can't play the channel.
I'm not playing it. I just put in the link.
Oh, okay.
Why, you were hearing something on your end?
No, I just saw a video pop up, and I thought you were going to hit the play button.
No, I just put the link, and that's pretty much talking about how generic he finds the music.
What about you, Patrick? How did you spend your weekend?
It kind of went by in a blur. But I did get most of what I'm working on tonight done, which is very good because I need to send this off to print soon so I can have it for May the 19th. So even just getting an art project like, more than halfway done is a huge accomplishment for me. So
I have show and tell. Yeah. Oh, I left my bag out in the car. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, Bill, what kind of brushes are you using in Clip Studio?
This is the oil paint palette, the specifically oil paint flat brush. Though at the moment, until I start shopping a little bit, I was trying watercolors briefly, but I really wasn't getting a good feel for them, at least at the moment. So I didn't want to, I wanted something properly opaque so I didn't miscalculate.
And the oil flat brush, is that something that came with it, or did you buy it separately?
This one came with it, though I'm sure if I shopped around a little bit, I can find something much better. As I said, the three options I have is one called oil paint, which is the difference. Not much. And then color change, which is this, which I'm not seeing much use for at the moment. At the moment, I'm confusing myself quite a bit because I realized after the fact, at first I was sort of figuring out all my day palettes, and then suddenly I realized the whole thing was going to would be a night scene by default. And it is, and so I'm pretty much guessing here, considering, yes, I could bike over to Green Lake in a couple of hours, but taking night darkness, I've learned the hard way that nighttime darkness references are a mess waiting to happen.
So here's a little quick lesson. This is a pin that was made for me by a friend of mine. Took my my brain character, the Tarman.
Very fun.
This is actually done using craft materials. What you do is you take, this was on a quarter page printed out with the white being clear onto some glow-in-the-dark shrinky-dink film.
Whoa.
So you print 4 of these on the page. You cut the edges kind of roundish, and then you shrink them down. They come down to about this size. To get the protective cover, there's this material that people pour over the top of jigsaws to kind of glue them together. I forget what it's called, but it does a wonderful job of giving a slightly bubbled surface. So you can see when I turn this to the side. And then what you do is you super glue a pin to the back. So for a relatively small amount of material costs, you can sell these for a minimum of $10 at conventions. And so pins seem to be the latest rage at comic book conventions. And I encourage you to shrinky-dink some pins. You can do enamel pins. You'll be spending anywhere between $1.50 to $2 on an enamel pin, and sometimes you have to do a minimum run of 100 or so. But if you do a Kickstarter project, that usually covers it. Apparently, pins are very popular on Kickstarter. So I wanted to see how well these do, as opposed to, say, enamel pins. So Patrick, if you ever do a devil head pin, let me know. Bill, the webcomic you pointed out to me the other day.
Yes.
Called, what is it? Stay Quiet, Stay Still, Stay Quiet?
Yes.
I'm liking it very much.
Isn't it gorgeous?
It's an absolutely webcomic. It's another fantastically gorgeous webcomic I'm reading is Kill 6 Billion Demons.
Oh, I'm about 4 chapters into that one. That talk about amazing professional level. I found out about it almost by accident when a friend of mine showed me the first printed volume.
And half the fun is reading his blog, because he does sort of like these short, epic Indian style, East Indian styled tales that are just wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I love his designs. I mean, the way that the angels explicitly do not look like angels, or perhaps look like angels if you know your Bible, but that's not the same as actually looking like angels.
The artist also talks about how he fights with depression and how that affects his he'll often do a page 3 or 4 times over because he thought it was great and then hit about a depression thinking, no, it's not perfect enough, and then just redo it again.
Oh, I can sympathize with that.
Patrick, do you watch or read any web comics?
Typically, the web comics I read tend to be strip comics that I kind of promote automatically through my Twitter stream.
And it is appreciated.
I have a whole slew of them on that I read every morning on Feedly. I'm a big fan of Quantum Vibe.
That is a good one.
Nice space opera one. It has multiple stories. I think this is, I think, the 4th storyline I've been reading. I also enjoy questionable content quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the ones you read, Bill?
Well, all of what you just mentioned. I don't read Quantum Vibe often because it's one of those ones that works better when you read it in a binge. But as far as space operas are concerned, that Schlock Mercenary, Sinfest, though I find his agenda increasingly grating. It's Girl Genius, Gunner Krieg Court. What other ones? PvP occasionally, but not as much as I used to, considering how his schedules go. Wapsie Square.
I haven't read that one in a long time.
And every now and again, N Town, though that one I'm beginning to wonder about where his story is going.
There's one I enjoy. Take a quick look at it right now.
It's 5 o'clock.
Oh, so here's some of the others I like listening to. Bug Martini, Bunny. Let's see. Drive Comic, Drive by Dave Collette. Dumbing of Age.
Oh, that one's pretty well done. But occasionally I skip a couple of weeks and binge it.
You know, I watch enough of, I read enough of these that some of them I go to every single day, and others it's okay if I miss them for a week and then get caught up. There's a local guy that does one called Modest Medusa that I like quite a bit.
Oh, I kind of like that. One of the ones I didn't know he was local though.
Yeah, he's I think he lives out in Puyallup.
Huh. Definitely somebody to put on the...
Of course, there's James Stowe's webcomic Sidekick Quest.
Right.
And
James Stowe, that name sounds familiar.
Oh Human Star, that's done by another local artist.
It sounds vague. Jokes aside, that one sounds familiar too. Oh, right, of course, yeah. I do know that one. I didn't know that one was local.
There's another, I think it's local, Love Not Found. A web comic called Scurry, which is all about mice in apparently a post-apocalyptic world. Let's see. Something called Super Fogies.
Oh, I know of that one. I never really got into it, though.
I'm really surprised how many comics I read that have storylines attached to them.
You know, storylines rock.
And then there's one called The Least I Can Do.
That one, I like the quality of the art. It's the actual humor occasionally just is almost annoying.
Back to drawing our wonderful pontiff here. I want to get just the right amount of flat jowl, no neck look. But I think I'm going to have to add a little bit more curve to it. There we go. So my wife is going to let me choose where to go out to dinner tonight.
Ah. So what are you leaning towards?
Well, this morning I was very much leaning towards Japanese food because I'm very seldom for me to pass up an opportunity to have Japanese food. But I had a rather large lunch where I took a friend of mine out, Russ Richards, the guy who made these tags, and there's a place here in Tacoma called the Fish House. And it's a little tiny residential house, blue. So basically the front parlor is where people sit down, I mean, barely has room for 2 tables. So most of it is people just waiting to take stuff out. And if you're eating there, you're taking up space for people who are, trying to take stuff out. So we grabbed, and since it was nice, we went and ate in a local community garden. But they do a cornbread catfish sandwich that I absolutely love. And my wife is not a fan of cornbreading on fried food or of catfish. So I got to hit 2 pleasures with 1 stone, so to speak. Bill, tell us what movies you're watching this week.
Oh, I just finished watching Luc Besson's Subway and a Hungarian film called Control, all about weird life, the weird adventures of ticket checkers in the Budapest subway system. And it was weird, but mostly enjoyable.
It has been well over a decade since I saw Subway.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw Jean Reno looking so clean cut.
So not only have all my other friends finished watching Lost in Space, have watched Lost in Space, but they finished watching it because they like to binge. I'm lucky if I get an episode in a night. Oh, geez, I've been talking. I haven't been sharing. People have been looking at my bald spot. Sorry about that, folks. Let me go back to sharing. Patrick, tell us about the Anubis drawing you're working on.
So I'm doing this will be my full-time 2019 comic project, and I'm going to be tabling at the Haverford, Pennsylvania Kids Comic Fest. So I'm going to do a mini comic starring this this main character whose name is Shakespeare, and she winds up going to ancient Egypt and encounters what seems to be a ominous-looking Anubis person in a crypt with some additional Anubis decorations in it. So I've actually switched over. I'm going to see if I can switch over to Photoshop. because I'm pretty much done working in Clip Studio at the moment. So.
So Russ Richards, who's been on the show before, and who I just took out to lunch and did those wonderful buttons for me, he works in Procreate, and it has a feature that I was going to ask you two if the same feature is available in Clip Studio, where it will automatically keep track of your drawing steps and be able to export it out as an animation.
Cool.
Do you know whether or not Clip Studio does that?
I have no idea.
I'd have to look it up. I don't. So is there a version of Procreate on the computer, or is it just iPod for the pad?
Let's see. I think it just works for the iPad.
That's what I thought too.
But he has Mac Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the new tablets, including Mac Pros, will now use the Apple Pencil, which has a wonderful touch-sensitive tool to it, and is a wonderful, and which I'm really thinking about investing in for when I go and do my sketchnoting at places.
I've been tempted by it. My only thing as far as the much vaunted stylus that they keep going on about is the fact it doesn't have an eraser.
I have an eraser on the Wacom, and I never use it. This is going by it's coming out very well. I'm very happy with it. So Russ was reminding me today that during college, high school, he worked at a Blockbuster and was able to enjoy a slew of really horrible movies. Matter of fact, he and his coworkers every Friday night would rent what they consider to be the absolute worst movies and have an all night binge watching festival of some of the worst horror movies of all time.
That sounds a tad masochistic.
Oh, like you said, Bill, you got a taste for it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, I'm a little jealous. I would have loved to work in a video store. Perhaps I might have even learned how to work while the movies were playing.
I always have trouble with that.
You and me both, Bill.
I mean, I multitask just fine with music and audiobooks. For some reason, I have trouble with podcasts. And I do not know why. But as far as movies, for the most part, and television shows, I'll occasionally have them on with the sound off, sort of as a screensaver, but that's as far as I'll go. Because they just require too much of my attention.
Yeah, I can't do a TV show or a movie when I'm working. I can listen to books, but only when I'm doing inking like this or coloring. If I'm doing sketch work or if I'm doing writing, I need to have silence. Unless I'm at one of my sketchnoting things, in which case I'm eavesdropping in on all the conversations and trying to capture that. Which I find quite fun.
I do not want to know what's going on over there. It sounds like somebody's having a psychotic episode.
Where's that, Bill?
Sounds, based on how loud it is, it sounds like the bus stop on 50th.
Bill lives in what's referred to as the University District of Seattle. 50th is a main street thoroughfare that cuts right through it. You are surrounded by co-eds, Bill.
Yeah, pretty. Not quite. Most of the co-eds live a bit more west of here, but I think Pledge Week is going on this week. I wasn't sure, but I saw when I was coming back from the library, I saw a lot of girls checking out sororities, and it seemed a little too late in the year for that.
I'm now going to start coloring this. Better save it. Now, I was fairly successful in getting someone to provide music for one of our podcasts, but then I started having problems because they had their music up on
Soundgarden?
No, they had their music also on YouTube. And so YouTube flagged me and the account and saying, hey, do you have permission for this? And I had to jump through so many hoops to get that episode aired that it just kind of burnt me out on trying to find people and promote them. Let's see.
Mm. Mm.
Gentlemen, a quick question on this Trump. Would his skin be better looking this orangey?
That looks almost normal.
How about that orangey?
That looks the same.
Yeah, if you go a little bit more orange, then you can go lighter on the bags under his eyes, because that's, you have some like pink going on like under his eyes, but
Pink in his eyes. Let's see if I can bump the orange a little bit more. How's that? I think I need to pale up his hair a little bit. And
It's 5:30.
I think I'm out of here, gentlemen. I will see you next week.
Okay, well, anyway, how's this look so far? While I freely admit that nighttime landscapes in a medium I'm not familiar with are not my forte.
Say something, Bill.
Something, Bill. I mean, I know the background still needs a lot more tightening, but I'm beginning to think I'm getting in the right direction.
I think what you need to do is have the ghost figure, the whites and grays that you have are fine, but I think it needs to be on a different layer. And that you should go ahead and paint the actual background behind her. So then on that layer with her with the whites and the grays, you can change the opacity and have her flowing in and out, because right now it looks too much like a hole in the page.
Okay.
Anyway, I will you've all been watching another episode of Epic Sketch Time. Thank you for joining me, Patrick and Bill. And we look to seeing you all next week.
Have a good one.